Perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm Abby Camille of Abby Joy Healing, and I think I know most of you by now, but I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner and I offer lymphatic body work with a focus on the breast and chest area and the uterus. So I definitely have a passion for scar tissue because so often many people have scars in their breast and chest and around their uterus space for many different reasons. And it can definitely be something that can impede lymphatic flow and blood flow. And just is, I feel like, a very tender topic for a lot of people who, when they've had surgery for whatever reason, then it can be a really challenging part of their body to look at or touch. So I just want to make it a more accessible topic and just encourage people to touch themselves and heal their scars. So thanks for being here. And yeah, we can just dive right in with what is scar tissue. So scar tissue forms at the place of an injury, and they're collagen bundles that are formed by fibroblasts, which are responsible for creating more tissue at the site of an injury, often to protect that skin or muscles, bone, tendons, ligaments from further injury. So it's our body's way of creating an extra protective shield in that zone. And they can be less elastic than normal tissue, which makes sense when your body's trying to create some form of protection, but it can also cause stiffness, pain, numbness over time, and also just block lymphatic flow and other flow of fluids through the body. So, in general, I generally recommend that people wait until the injury fully heals before doing any more in depth work on their scar, which is usually around 2 to 3 months, kind of depending on where it is. But in the meantime, you can definitely start to like gently massage that area. And then definitely once that like 2 to 3 month mark comes around, that's when you can kind of do more massage and do some of the other tools that we'll talk about today. But of course, listening to your body, not really like touching and massaging an open wound, of course, or before it feels fully healed or before you're ready to touch that part of your body. It can be oftentimes injuries come from kind of traumatic experiences. So, not like pushing yourself to touch a scar before you're ready, but also knowing that those scars do hold emotion and tenderness. So, the more that you can kind of get in touch with that part of your body, the better. So, in order to avoid the buildup of scar tissue to begin with, and also I put all these notes in the PDF here, and I'll put that in the master classes or the apothecary afterwards too for people to look over. But to avoid the buildup of scar tissue, as I mentioned before, gently massaging the area as it's healing in that like post 2 to 3 month zone. So with C-section scars or something like that, finding your favorite oil or salve and just gently massaging. And that could even be in the shower for a couple minutes or 30 seconds a day, just kind of like gently bringing blood flow to that area because our bodies are totally healing beings and can heal so much of scar tissue and other things on their own. So yeah, finding an oil or in the shower that you like for doing massage. And then kind of like with any injury, getting really hydrated, as we love to talk about here. So drinking more electrolytes, drinking some sea salt in your water, kind of whatever you can do to boost your hydration. Also avoiding sun exposure on that injury, and then eating antioxidant rich foods that are going to help your skin to recover. I'm sure all the things that Lara talks about with skin health, like astaxanthin and different antioxidants, would totally be helpful. And then, really, at any point along the healing journey of a scar, making sure that you're eating enough fatty acids and omega 3s because our skin is also fat. And so, in order to heal from anything that's skin related, we need a lot of healthy fats, both internally and externally. So, upping your fish oil intake, trying to get 10 tablespoons a day of omega 3 oils like olive oil, flax, chia, hemp. There's like so many good oils, but just the more omega 3s and 9s that you can get eating sardines, mackerel, all those small fish, that helps a bunch. And then taking the time to address any emotional aspects around the scar. And I think that that's something that is really pertinent with especially the breast, chest, and womb space, whether it's from a breast reduction or getting implants or having a C-section, a hysterectomy. There's almost always some emotional component. And that's when I think seeing a practitioner like me or someone else who does scar tissue work can be really helpful, or just setting aside that time in your life to, like, okay, for the next 20 minutes or whatever time you can set aside, like, I'm gonna just be with this scar and just hold my hands there and see what comes up, like see if there's any stories that are there, or if there's some way you want to process that scar, whether it's writing, journaling, making art, something that will allow you to kind of feel whatever is connected to that zone. Okay, so now getting into the juicy tidbits of how to break down scar tissue. So I brought all my fun and fancy tools today for how I support people with breaking down scar tissue. And I'll kind of take you through like my personal routine where, like, if I'm working on scar tissue on myself or with a client, this is what I will do. So I'll just introduce all the tools. So first, gua sha is really amazing. This is a great, just like fine detail tool. In general, it's so helpful for bringing lymphatic flow to a zone. So I love working with a gua sha to just kind of like bring blood flow first. And that blood flow and lymphatic flow will always help scars to heal. So if you can at first just get the gua sha going, and I'll come back and talk more about that, but that's kind of like a good first step. And then I also have my cups here. So these are really easy to use cupping set. It's from Lhasa OMS, which I can put that in the chat. It's a really awesome, they're called Lhasa OMS Longevity Cupping Set. And what I love about the cupping set is that it's so easy. You can literally just like squeegee it right onto yourself. You just go like this. And you can leave them on there for 10 or 15 minutes. So if you were working on a C-section scar, I might just do like a little gua sha first. I also always like to start with getting the area warmed up first because our skin is more malleable when it's warm. So using like a hot compress or a warm water bottle, shower, bath, somehow getting yourself warmed up first. And then I might do a little bit of gua sha, kind of get the area warm. Say I was working on a scar right here, just like doing some gentle strokes and always just meeting your body where it's at, not pushing beyond pain, and definitely not trying to break skin or bring blood or anything like that. And that kind of depends on where you are in your healing process. Like if it's been a couple years since the injury, you like almost can't go too hard. Like you'll be in pain before you would want to stop anyways. So yeah, just like using the gua sha as much as it feels good. And then you can just put on the cups over that, wherever that scar is. And you can even put them in a line. So if I was working on my abdomen or on someone else's, I might just put like 3 or 4 cups right in a row and right along the scar, and kind of wait for them to pucker and pull that skin up. And then you can see anywhere that there's more lactic acid is probably where there's more of those collagen bundles. So anywhere that you see a lot of redness coming up, that's more like inflammation, stuck lactic acid, stuck scar tissue. And that's just amazing that the cup is pulling that out to the surface. Yeah, you can definitely use anything really as a gua sha. You can use a spoon. Something I see a lot of people use is those Chinese soup spoons that are like ceramic, and those you can get for 50 cents online. And you can even use a regular metal spoon. You can use a lid to a jar. You can use pretty much anything that's like a firm surface and use that as a gua sha. Yeah, and then the cups are also not that expensive. They're, I think, $60 to get, like with shipping and everything, for the Lhasa OMS set. Or you can go online and get like a set of ones, kind of like squeegee, squish-on cup. It sounds kind of weird, but it works easily, and those probably are like $10. So it's really, you don't have to get a bunch of fancy stuff. You can use really whatever. And yeah, so cups, I can do kind of like a more in-depth demo about how I use cups too. But as we continue our tour here, I also have my tiny bottle of castor oil. Castor is amazing for breaking down scar tissue. It's super anti-inflammatory, cooling, breaks things down. So I like to do basically a castor oil pack on wherever the scar is. So using a couple of tablespoons of castor oil, putting it over the zone, and then putting a warm compress over it, or a hot towel, or a towel with a hot water bottle. So then the castor oil soaks in, and putting that on there for like 20 minutes, or as long as you want. You can do it even longer. And then after the castor oil has soaked in, then I'll go back in with my gua sha and just kind of like, or just my hands gently massage. But the gua sha then afterwards can kind of like go a layer deeper with the castor oil, because the castor has already been breaking things up. Cool. So then one of my favorite things to do is mix castor oil with Kala Namak, which I've mentioned before, but is just really amazing. It is a black sulfur salt from the Himalayas. It smells very strongly of sulfur. It feels definitely like you're in a hot spring, which can be fun or can be a little strange. But it's so sulfur is one of the most sour compounds in nature, and sour is enzymatic. Enzymes break things down. So you can do a couple of different things with Kala Namak. One is to just rub it directly onto the skin, and that can feel a little bit weird, especially if you're not used to doing like a dry salt scrub rub. But my teacher Deanna, that's what she does. She'll just take a bunch of Kala Namak and just scrub it right into the scar, and it will probably get pretty red and look kind of inflamed. But it really does work and can really break things down. I prefer a kind of, so I actually like to blend the Kala Namak with the castor oil. So I'll mix together like a quarter cup of castor oil and a tablespoon of Kala Namak and make a little salt scrub and put that in a dish, and then just rub it in wherever. And you can go pretty hard. You can just like scrub the mixing the Kala Namak and the castor oil into your skin. And again, it'll probably turn kind of red for a couple of days. And you will then want to apply heat over, like do a warm compress on top, or go in the shower so it soaks in. And that's when the Kala Namak will get really stinky. That's when you'll be like, ooh, it really smells like sulfur. But that is kind of miraculous. Like, just, if nothing else, mixing together castor, Kala Namak, scrubbing those onto wherever the scar is, and then putting like a warm compress or hot water bottle over a warm towel over that, and letting it soak in for 5-10 minutes. That is amazing. Like, it'll just really start to break things up. So sometimes what I'll do is, like, in the order of these things, sometimes I'll start with the salt scrub and also, if you don't have Kala Namak or you don't know where to get it, I'll link my teacher Deanna's website so you can get Kala Namak if you're so interested. But you can also do it with regular salt, and it will. I'll just go ahead and write this. Deanna Essentials Kala Namak. And you don't need that much, which is great, but it's just awesome to have a bag of Kala Namak around. You can also do it with a regular salt scrub, like just mix together whatever salt with some oil. Usually I do like half a cup of oil with a half a cup of salt, like roughly that ratio. Or I think it's actually 1 to 2 to 1. So like a cup of oil to a half a cup of salt. Sorry, the reverse. I'm just talking now. So 1 cup of salt to half a cup of oil, mix that together, and then put that on the area, and it won't have the same kind of like sulfur properties that really help to break things down. But if that's what you got, that's also great, is to use a salt scrub. So I'll maybe start with that, doing like a salt scrub in the shower, or use the castor and the Cullinamock to make a scrub that in, and then use a warm compress, leave it on, soak it in for 10 minutes, or just use that to wipe it off, shower it off. And then once that skin is kind of more warmed up and ready and flowing, then you can go back in with the gua sha and scrub away at it, just kind of using your gua sha to gently kind of start to massage that area. And then a finishing touch that you can do is then put the cups on top of that zone, and say like I had a scar right here, I would just do like kind of all along the scar, do a couple of different cups. And it's nice too because the cups come in different sizes, so you can really tailor it to however big your scar is and where it is in your body. But say this is like the length of my scar, I would just put that many cups, or if it was longer, I could put more cups than that. And that really helps to kind of do the finishing touch of bringing things off. And the other cool thing you can do with the cups is you can do slide cupping, which I don't have any oil on my body right now, so it's going to be a little trickier. But you basically do like instead of I usually do about 2 to 3 pumps when I'm putting the cups on. Alternatively, you can do just like a half of a pump, and then if I had oil on it, that would allow me to kind of slide it side to side. And that slide cupping is awesome for pulling up scar tissue and adhesions and whatever might be attaching the underlying muscle to the bone or to other tendons and ligaments. Yes. Okay. So that's the kind of overview. And yeah, so it was 1 cup of salt. Yeah, 1 cup of salt to 1/2 cup of oil. And if you go back in the apothecary to, there's a handout that I made that's called Ayurvedic lymphatic bodywork, I think, or Ayurvedic lymphatic self-care tools. And that has all my recipes for salt scrubs and for how to do gua sha, how to use cups. So that's a really helpful, just like cheat sheet for each of these things and how to use them more in depth. And there's a video associated with that too. Let me see what else I had in my notes here. Another thing that's really amazing is arnica cream and calendula cream. I make a salve that has calendula, but I also really like the homeopathic, I think it's Boiron arnica cream. That I think is just really great first aid, especially in that first year or so after having a scar, helping to break down some of the scar tissue and just help the skin heal. And also in this handout too, I have the recipe for the salt scrub. And then another thing I'll do sometimes with clients, and you can totally do this easily at home, is using moxa, which is a rolled up mugwort stick that oftentimes Chinese medicine doctors will use, or acupuncturists. And moxa is really heating and decongesting. And I find that to be really helpful for C-section scars in particular, because the pelvis can get really congested and cold, especially after birth and with C-section, because that lymph isn't moving as easily. The baby was compacting the lymph in the pelvis. So I like moxa because it's really heating and warming. And that's why I also like the salt scrubs and always using a warm cloth or compress, because just bringing warmth to the pelvic floor is so helpful in any type of post-birth and C-section in particular recovery. And moxa is really easy to use. It seems kind of complicated, but you just basically light the stick at the end and then blow on it until it becomes like this little hot cherry, is how they describe it. And then you use that almost like a pencil around the scar, and obviously not touching your skin, making sure that you have a cold compress nearby just in case like it somehow burns you. But yeah, you can use that moxa, and there's tons of videos online about how to use moxa. but that's really great at especially scars that cause pain. And I know that was a concern that you had, Devin, is anytime that there is that pain associated with a scar, especially that radiates to a different area of the body, there's probably adhesions that are binding that scar, maybe to your psoas or to some of the tendons and ligaments that hold the uterus in place that attach to the spine. And that's a reason that I do really like moxa, is it can really deeply drive heat into the body and help some of those adhesions to soften. And that's also a beauty of castor oil. It has that same driving property, and same with cups. They also help to just have that like kind of deeper impact or deeper effect in the body. So that would be kind of my top recommendations. I think for a lot of people too, they'll have less sensation around their C-section scar or really around any scar. And that's a really great time to do all of these things because it's just showing that some of that nerve sensitivity has been lost. So using the gua sha and cups to kind of bring back some of that sensation will also help to restore the nerves and really all of the lymphatic and blood flow function in that area. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions that you have, Devin?
Yeah, I just had a question.
Yeah.
So, sometimes I'll be like laying on my back and then I'm trying to turn over to like my side and I'll like this really bad pain and it feels like something moved out of place. It's like at my C-section scar and I'll have to like hold it down, like just push on it until I feel like, I don't know, it's moved back. I don't know what's happening. But I just didn't know if that is related to like the scar tissue or like something totally different.
Yeah, it definitely could be connected to the scar tissue. It makes me wonder. I do uterine alignments, and that's could be part of it too, is if your uterus is shifted out of place, and then those ligaments are that hold the uterus in place are almost like popping out of place when you're turning on your side.
Right.
So, yeah, seeing if you can get your uterus lined or just feel in your own pelvis, like, okay, does it feel like my uterus is like bouncy in the middle, or does it feel like it's over to one side or the other?
Okay.
It's on one side that you have the pain.
It's usually on the right side, but I don't know. I think I've had it on both, but I can remember more so on the right.
Yeah. Have you tried doing castor packs
I
on your
do it
uterus?
not on my
Okay.
uterus, just on my, I only do it like mainly on my liver because I never even thought to do that.
I know, right? It's like all these amazing things that you would never think. But yeah, I definitely recommend doing castor packs over your uterus and right over the scar, because at that it's just amazing how much castor oil softens everything,
Okay.
and you might really notice a difference. I think like acupuncture could also be really helpful, just because it can help to soften some of the like ligaments and tendons around the uterus.
Okay.
But yeah, to me, it sounds like it might be a psoas thing too, where the psoas has gotten really tight and is holding up. Like, and so doing psoas stretches kind of maybe as you're doing your castor pack, like you can do legs up the wall and kind of lay your legs out to the side just to
Okay.
stretch that, or lay over a bolster and kind of see if you can massage like lay on your belly over a bolster, and that
Okay.
can like massage the deeper psoas muscle.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely seems like something that could be helpful to get body work on too, because it can be hard to do self psoas release. That's always like a tricky. But
Yeah.
anything that you do to like bring your like laying on your back, bringing your knee up to your chest, and then stretching your leg backwards, anything that kind of works that like hip flexor.
Okay.
Like want to stand up and demonstrate, but like if you're laying on your back and you do like knee
Okay.
just kind of like stretch like that, and then you can do like behind you too, just like stretching your hip flexor out. That could also really, It's kind of just like warming and loosening is the name of the game with all things scar tissue and with uterus and psoas care. It's like how much can you do? Castor packs, stretching,
Okay.
deep breathing into your belly, yoni steams, taking baths,
Okay.
whatever brings warmth to the pelvic bowl. And so I was saying too with the moxa, like that is so amazing for anything that's like that tight constriction.
Thank you. Do you do the psoas release, or would that be like more like a yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Cool. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. I'm trying to think if there's any other like helpful things to cover. Yeah, I would say the biggest like takeaway is definitely warming. And oftentimes when people come to me, there's a lot of like fear associated with their scars. Like they don't want to move it too much or they're afraid of like going too hard. And I think that's definitely a good call to have caution and to like, oh yeah, sauna is also definitely great. I would say the main thing with sauna is you just don't want to dry yourself out too much. So making sure that you're getting really hydrated before but yeah, definitely like castor sauna afterwards or sauna first, then put castor on. That's awesome. Steam room too. Yeah, so just not being afraid, I think, to like meet your skin and your tissue where you're at. And I think especially with the gua sha or the cup, just being like, I trust myself, sitting with that underlying sensation of that scar and yeah, and just like being willing to meet yourself where you're at. And at the same time, as I say that, you also don't have to go that hard. Like, just I think being with your scar makes such a difference. And it's something that we're not really taught to do, especially with our breasts and uterus. It's kind of like, ooh, don't touch there. That's weird. But the more that we have that permission to just like, I'm just going to lay here and touch my scar for before I go to bed for 10 minutes and just see what comes up emotionally. I think I personally have seen that make a huge difference for people and like deep unwindings happen for people when they just sit, lay there and touch their breast or chest or really any scar on their body. Yeah. Okay. So a couple of the resources I mentioned, I'll put all these in the handout. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's so, uh, there's so many emotions. Our bodies are such amazing vessels, and it's incredible that, like, I think a lot of people have a lot of shame or frustration or just like different challenging things around C-sections. And yeah, I think just seeing also how one can reframe that and like, wow, it is a blessing that my child is here. They arrived how they needed to arrive. This was the path. And having that type of like self compassion too, I think that's made a huge difference for a lot of people I've worked with, even though it's really hard. But yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, so I have a personal practice in Sebastopol, California, and also in Mill Valley. And then my friends and I offer a monthly biodonation clinic in Sebastopol. And there's also a really amazing biodonation clinic that my teacher, Deanna Batdorf, offers in Occidental. And that's about once a month that she does a bodywork one. So I highly recommend that. And that's through Deanna Essentials as well on her community clinic. And let's see. Yeah, I'm offering a special too for 10% off first session with the code FLOW. So I'll put that in the doc as well. Yeah, any other questions that you have, Devin? Before we wrap up? No worries. Oh yeah, it would be so great to see you. That would be amazing. So amazing. Yeah, so feel free if anyone's listening to this later and they have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me either through the collective or through my Instagram is at Abby Joy Healing. My website is also abbyjoyhealing.com. And I'm always happy to share and just like talk with people about whatever their situation is and how I would go about or how they can at home do some of these things for themselves. So yeah, just sending blessings to anyone who's listening to this and support in your healing journey. So yeah, thanks so much for listening in, Devin, and feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. Yay, thanks everyone.